again, you have, you're the team director of a brand new volleyball team. So quickly, why volleyball? How did you think of, I mean, you're doing it as a business, right? So where did the whole idea of taking volleyball to the next level, owning a team, and also the grassroots development that comes along with it? What's been the plan? You can take, yeah, okay. So how did it start and what's the way forward?
Thank you, sir. So, yes, I think what you were saying earlier, I probably might be the youngest person in this room. So I am very, very honored and very humbled to be a part of this room and, get an opportunity to learn from everybody over here. Coming back to your question, I'll speak about volleyball as a business, about owning a franchisee, and also about what grassroots programs are we taking part in. So, Mr. Dhor was just talking about how 85 to 88% of the marketing spends, even if you put the broadcasting rights aside, end up going to cricket. I was just going through some reports recently, and if you look at 2019, the last non-COVID year, around 9,500 crores was spent on marketing in India on sports. And like Sir rightly said, 88% went to cricket. But now if you think about any other sport that can actually have a lot of value for the sponsors, for the brands like Amul and like Horlicks and Boost. And thank you to Amul, because I had a lot of Amul cool drinks during PVL season 1 because they were one of the sponsors. So thank you very much for that. But my point being, the way the production of a volleyball match can happen on TV, it is great value for the sponsors because it's a static court, it's a non-contact sport, so the camera is not moving all the time. You've got, with the help of digitization and the new techniques, you've got the digital prints that you can put in. And also, unlike a specific example being football, it's not 90 minutes of continuous play time for us, but it's like more like basketball, where there's timeouts, there's strategic timeouts, and there's stops and plays and stuff like that. So there are so many opportunities that sponsors and FMCG companies or any other brands that want to get associated with the sport, or even brands that want to grow the sport, can get involved in a sport like volleyball and really make a huge return on their investment. So coming back to what we were earlier discussing about, that how brands, I think Mr. Khan or Ms. Datta actually pointed this out, that how even being on a small budget can end up giving you a very high return on your investment if you go the alternate sport route. So that's about the business of volleyball perspective that I have.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that cricket takes a lion's share, but it's obviously already highly priced. Mm-hmm. So you're saying newer sports, volleyball being one, there could be others, are the potential where you could invest more and on a smaller base get a better return. What you also mentioned is that volleyball is in some senses better suited for enjoying watching on TV and also for advertising, getting more seconds per hour of mileage. Am I right?
That's a very tricky question. I'm not going to fall prey to that. I'm not going to fall food for the cat. I'm not saying it is better to watch than any other sport. I bleed blue. I love my Virat Kohli and I love my Rohit Sharma, and I'm a huge football fanatic as well. What I'm saying is that cricket, while it rightly deserves the space that it has, all I'm trying to say is that there are other sports for companies to explore as well, which might, given the small base like you rightly mentioned, end up giving a better ratio. Also, there's a twofold perspective over here that I would like to submit. First, volleyball is not a new sport. The sport's been around for 75 years. If you look at the data, it is genuinely the second most popular team sport played in the world. So there is a huge community that this sport does cater to. The problem is that it's just not evolved as much as cricket because, we did not win the Volleyball World Cup in '83. If we had, probably volleyball would also be at a level as cricket. The other thing that I'm trying to say is that there are certain sports which have not developed even as much as volleyball because there's not a huge community that had access to the infrastructure. Like Mr. Karmakar in the morning said, shooting infrastructure other than the events and the fairs that we go to have not been available. So the community that even indulges or that plays that sport is smaller. So there's a twofold approach over here that I'm trying to make, is that one, there are other sports like the hockeys, the kho-kho, kabaddi, volleyball, which have been around, which is played by a huge community. And then, like what the Tatas are investing in their alternate sports centers, that there are a lot of sports which are not that explored by the majority of the country. So those are also sports worth exploring for our next generation.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that there is space. I mean, we are a very large, close to 1.4 billion people, and in most developed nations, there are at least 4 or 5 sports that make serious amount of money, have corporate sponsorship, have a lot of viewership. So there is space in India for other sports, and I'm sure everyone will try. So will football, so will volleyball, and at least 4 or 5, maybe more, should sponsor. The other thing that I heard you say is that volleyball's been around, and it doesn't need so much of infrastructure, so it's relatively easy to set up and play, at least at a grassroots level.
Right. So we honestly, at this point, although I've just been around for the last 8-9 months, what I've realized, my eureka moment is, like, we're looking at a chicken and egg story, right? Because I think what Ms. Datta asked in the morning in one of the sessions, like you pointed out, will we start investing in a sport after we achieve something internationally? Then the question to that is yes, because the way the narrative goes is that when we perform internationally, a great, like that tribal culture, the tribalism mentality amongst in all our heads, it starts kicking in, and there's a better fan following, better for the brands to invest in, and then the sport can grow. So it's a chicken and egg story. What comes first? And that is where corporates such as us, Kolkata Sports Ventures, or even the government, or corporates such as the Tatas, they come in, because they try to intervene and they try to make that jump into that circle, that vicious circle of what is going to come first. So that's why the grassroots programs are so important, which we recently did with the Thunderbolts Cup. We reached out to, like you mentioned in my introduction, we reached out to every district there is in Bengal to try and find players. And you will be surprised, we did. We found volleyball players everywhere in every corner of the state. And that is what the realization from this first project really was, that, this is not a sport that I'll have to teach from the scratch to all the players, because, all of us in this room also, I'm pretty sure most of us have played volleyball at some point or the other. Just this morning, I met a gentleman who used to be the captain of his volleyball team, and he's now with us. He's sitting right there with us. So, it's just something which is latently there. That association is there with volleyball. It's just like not at the forefront. So if we start, like Mr. Dhor also correctly said, if we start nurturing at the grassroots, one, you're creating a pipeline for the players. So you need to have your, that's exactly what even Kolkata Thunderbolts is doing. That, we're creating a minor team, a junior team. So, there's going to be one between the ages of 12 and 16 with even a smaller ball. So, the big volleyball does not hurt their veins or their muscles with the kind of velocity that it travels. Then once they've gotten the technique, they maybe move on to the second stage. So we've already got those in the pipeline. We're announcing those as well.
Okay, so I'm hearing 3 interesting things. One is the overall corporatization, and I don't mean it in a bad way, bringing in a more professional approach to the whole area of volleyball and managing a team. Second is nurturing, and I found it very encouraging. I know Cricket Australia did that when they had shorter pitches and all that, which is more age-appropriate games that helps nurture talent. And in a way, you're tapping into an existing reservoir of talent or memories that already exist with volleyball, and you're trying to do that. So that's very interesting. I'm going to come back to you because we're going to run out of time. So I'm going to have one second round of questions for all of you.